Well, what happened was I became severely malnourished and weak, and I actually passed away in my house, alone in my
Mm.
apartment. And then I ended up in a hospital, month and a half. I had tubes in me and everything, alarms going off. It was rough. But then I got home, and when you have an experience like that, it makes you think back and wonder, of your life. And you wonder, gee, I wonder where so and so is. And I thought about Kiss because they were a major part of my life. And so I looked up, and here they were just about ready to retire and never tour again. And that made me real sad. But then I thought, my favorite, Paul Stanley, I thought, what's he doing? I found out he's an artist. He actually paints and shows his work through Wentworth galleries. And I'm like, well, gee, so last fall in October, I went and bought a $120 Squire Stratocaster guitar, and I started playing around with it for the first time in 30 years.
Hey everybody, welcome to AI DIY. AIDIY.tech is the website. I'm the AI music guy. I have Tika Carr with me today. I did a big drive for women in music and women in AI music because I'm noticing that the stats are showing that we need to bring some love in and get more women producing in this way. Tika actually came through at that point and is actually a really good example of that because she's been in the music industry. She's been involved in the music since the awesome 80s. Tika, thanks for coming. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because the more I sort of read about you, you're a mystery in one way because I haven't heard any of your music because you're really protective of it. But I love your story, and I love that you give us a bit of perspective on the way that you approach this whole AI thing, because it's definitely different than mine, but that's what I want. I want people that have different perspectives to come on and talk about it, and you've piqued my curiosity.
Okay, well, first I want to say thank you for having me on, because I think your channel is wonderful, and we need that right now because the way AI is booming and everything. We need a platform for people like us to speak up, women, disabled, and you're
Mm.
doing a wonderful job. About me,
Thanks, Tika.
I'm a songwriter, a musician, and a producer. I've been doing this stuff since the awesome 80s. Even actually, I started when I was around 13, which was actually near the 70s, at the end of the 70s. I'm
Whoa,
also an
whoa.
artist. Yeah, I'm also
Yeah.
an artist. I do acrylics. I do impressionist abstract. I used to be a programmer, web developer, and web server administrator, but I retired from that job back in 2020. Um, but musically, I grew up in music. My parents, they always had some kind of musical instruments around the house. My dad played accordion. We used to have keyboard organs. Had an acoustic guitar, a regular student one, when I was 7. But I didn't get started seriously in music until I was around 13. And, you know, later I quit school and I started studying from home through the mail. Before computers, I was studying art. And at the same time, I was still exploring songwriting and recording on dual cassette decks, by the way. And then when I got into my 20s, real life set in. I had to sell most all of my gear just to pay the bills. So I lost a lot of guitars and recording equipment. But then I started exploring music on a computer right around the 90s. And I don't know if you know what a mod tracker is. I used to
You
experiment
know,
with those.
it sounds familiar. It sounds really familiar because
What
I
it
was into.
is
Well,
this,
I used to be into computer gaming back then, and I
yes,
swear like mods,
demo
like mod
scene.
trackers.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What it is, for people that don't know, is you take sampled sound and you import it into the software and you arrange it and it plays it like a piano roll. So
Yeah.
I was and it sounded really cool back in the day. And uh, I was also then I later learned Mixcraft, Audacity, Mixcraft's a digital audio workstation. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, my musical roots, I was a big Kiss fan back in the teens and 20s, and then I got away
Who
from it
wasn't?
and I'm
Who
back
wasn't a
into
Big
it.
Kiss fan?
Huh?
Who wasn't a big Kiss fan?
I know
Who
a
wasn't a big
lot of
Kiss fan?
people,
You know.
apparently only me back then. But
Well,
then I
I
got back
had
into it. Now everybody's a Kiss fan.
well, let me just tell you my exposure to Kiss when I was a kid, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to mention this because I was thinking of this very person when I was driving home from my school drop off to do this interview with you. I had a teacher in high school, my sociology teacher, Mr. Warman. I probably worked that relationship a little bit too much because I respected him so much, so I was probably in his pocket a lot. But he knew Kiss back in the day. Like he was a teacher, but he was also like a police officer back in the day, so he would do security for him, and he got to know the guys
Oh
pretty
my
well. So
gosh.
much so, yeah, so much so that
All I
like
had was near
if
misses.
what's that?
All I
Yeah,
had was
that's
near
almost.
misses.
I've had near misses too. I can go into that too. And let me just tell you about Mr. Warman because I love the guy. He's passed on in the last couple of years, but
Sorry.
he used to, if you were struggling in his class and there was an exam, if you put Kiss is the best band ever, he would just mark the answer right. That was his thing, right?
I love it. I love it. I wish he was my teacher.
That and John Wayne,
Oh
and the
wait.
guy basically got me through high school. I'll tell you a quick story or two. I know it's not my interview because I know you'll just because I want to give a bit of a love to Mr. Warman. I was
He
not really
deserves
good
it.
all the way through high school, and one morning I was like sleeping till 9:30. He called me up. This is going to go a little bit crass, but he goes, Matthew, do you want to graduate high school? This is like year 11 or the start of year 12. And I said, yes, Mr. Warman. He goes, then get your ass into school and come see me straight away, right? And so then I get in, I'm like, this isn't going to be good. He goes, Matthew, do you want to finish school? I said, yes. He goes like this. Well, I've been jerking off your effing teachers this whole time about how you're a good guy and you want to finish school and you're making me look like an asshole. Show up to school every day, do your work and finish school. And I let this guy down that is a big Kiss fan and he loves John Wayne. I love the guy. I'm letting him down. And yeah, because of him, because of the biggest Kiss fan ever, I graduated school. And as far as my near misses, I used to work in the same building as a major radio station in Melbourne, Australia. And Gene Simmons had been there like 3 times. We were waiting for him down in the parking lot. I walked up. One of my friends sat there smoking a cigarette. 2 minutes after I walked up, Gene Simmons walked through the parking lot. He said, "Hey, how you going?" Show us your tongue, and apparently stuck out his tongue and all that stuff. So I've had near
Good
misses.
old Uncle Gene.
Yeah, that's right. And he just seems to be a legitimate good guy. I mean, Mr. Warman wouldn't have been friends with, but they stayed off the drugs, they stayed off the
Mhm.
booze. They
Well,
were
half of
good. They
them
were
did.
entertainers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they, yeah, and also like he went to the funeral of it wasn't Peter Chris, was it? Like the
No, it's
drummer that
Eric
died.
Carr.
Yes, so he went to his funeral back in the day. So there were obviously there's issues in the whole scene, but I always enjoyed because they're like we're entertainers. Our stuff's about fun. We're not trying to influence you being
True. True.
a jerk. We just make fun music and we rock out and you come and enjoy our
They
shows.
were
I've
they're
enjoyed that about Kiss.
fantastic. They were
Yeah.
fantastic. But yeah.
So have they influenced your stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I was always been a metalhead, and imagine a metalhead going into guitar lessons with a very strict jazz musician for a guitar
Mm,
instructor.
yeah, yeah.
It wasn't easy, and jazz is very difficult to learn. So, but yeah, I mean, after that hospital stay, I had a near fatal health crisis 2 years ago, and I was in a hospital a
Well,
long time.
actually, so let's talk about that because that
Yeah,
leads into that led into you like you're selling
yeah.
your gear and stuff,
For
right? So
today,
let's
yeah.
talk about where you are, yeah,
Yeah, I
because
had
this is the thing that I think AI music. This is where the AI music strength is because whether you're a top end producer and you're making Tata, or you're somebody who's musical and wants to stay in it and has had to sell all your gear because your circumstances put you that way.
yeah.
There's something for you in AI music. But yeah, tell us your story.
Well, what happened was I became severely malnourished and weak, and I actually passed away in my house, alone in my
Mm.
apartment, and came back. I guess I'm not supposed to go yet, but then I ended up in the hospital. Month and a half, I had tubes in me and everything, alarms going off. It was rough. But then I got home, and when you have an experience like that, it makes you think back and wonder, you think back of your life, and you wonder, gee, I wonder where so and so is. And I thought about Kiss because they were a major part of my life. And so I looked up, and here they were just about ready to retire and never tour again. And that made me real sad. But then I thought, my favorite, Paul Stanley, I thought, what's he doing? I found out he's an artist. He actually paints and shows his work through Wentworth galleries. And I'm like, well, gee, so last fall in October, I went and bought a $120 Squire Stratocaster guitar, and I started playing around with it for the first time in 30 years. And around that same
Love it.
time, I got my
Yeah.
Arturia Mini Lab 3 keyboard controller, and I started painting. So I'm rekindling my love for art and music. And after I did the paintings, I did 4 of them and submitted them in January to the Rochester Contemporary Arts Center, because they were doing this thing where you make 6x6 paintings, and you submit them, and they'd sell them and keep the profits, for their programs. It was a donation. So I did that. They started selling June 2nd, and within 3 weeks, all 4 of my paintings sold. So I'm like, gee,
Mm.
maybe I ought to start. I'm thinking, I'm working on starting my own business, selling my own artwork. But back to the music thing. Earlier this year, or was it last year? I can't remember when, but I discovered Suno. Game changer. Now,
Mm.
coming from somebody who had to take 2 cassette decks, play my music on one deck, record with it on the other, all the tracks, it was called overdubbing. I had to do all that. It was hard to actually create music. Here, I could write my lyrics, put it in Suno, and have a amazing song come out. You could not
Yeah.
believe my reaction. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah, and especially the
computer.
latest stuff's coming. Let me ask you about this too, right? Like, so you love it. You've seen
Mm.
that what it does, and
Oh,
this is the problem I have with people go like with people from your era that have been through all that stuff, and they go, but it's not fair that other people can do this when I had to do overdubbing and I had to grind it out, and so it's not fair, and you shouldn't be able to do it. That's the thing people take because they've worked hard, right?
They're
It's
old
all right.
fogies. I never grew
Yeah,
up.
so, yeah, it's a good point. Good point. And then I think someone who has the experience that you had that had to be reflective on life. You
Yeah.
probably look at what's important, and probably it's not. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm just saying from someone who maybe people that are reflective and they see what's important. What's important isn't taking stuff away from someone else just because you've had a bad life experience, right? It's not like, oh my God, I've had it tough, so no one else can have it easy.
Well, I don't think it might be that, but with me, I spent 16 years in IT as a computer programmer. So
Okay.
I developed a familiarity and a love for technology anyway. So I was familiar with the technology. I wasn't afraid of technology. I understood how technology works. And to tell you the truth, I was in forums like there was one called Digital Girl. There was a chat bot called Hal. This was all AI stuff before AI became a thing. So I
Mm.
actually got interested in AI. I tell you a funny story. When I was
Yeah,
in
please do. Well, we love funny stories.
when I was in high school, my parents got before I was in high school, we had a TRS-80 Model 3 microcomputer. It didn't have disk drives. It was just a cassette deck and 4K of RAM. That's it. And I would type
Big time.
computer programs. That's how I got started with computers. So when I got to high school, I took a
Let,
computer
let me
course.
just ask. Let me just try to age you because we haven't asked your age, and I will
I
ask
was
if you
14
don't mind
then.
your age.
Oh, how old am I
Yeah. So
now?
yeah. I only ask because like a lot of people are our age, and I like people to know that they can get into things and not to be afraid of stuff, even though they're not
Oh,
15
okay.
years
Well,
old.
yeah, I'm 59 going on 16. So
Okay. Yes.
anyway,
I'm
I was in
52. I'm 50. Sorry, I'm 50 going on the same. Yeah.
you're a kid too. Anyway, I was in high school computer class, and I had just bought a book from Radio Shack called Artificial Intelligence, and I was reading it, and I told the teacher in the class proudly, computers can actually think. The teacher started laughing. All the kids in the classroom turned around, looked at me,
Mm,
and were laughing. And
yeah,
like I'm
that's
going,
hard.
yeah. So I mean, and
I had a similar
meanwhile,
experience in school too. Yeah.
I would go home, and you remember the program Eliza, where you chat
Mm,
with it. I would alter that program, and I even wrote a program back then that altered itself. So I was
really?
already familiar with AI. So when the Suno thing and everything came up, I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Now,
Yeah.
other
So
people
you're the
that are
perfect storm,
older,
basically.
they don't understand technology, and they were always the one that was afraid computers were going to take away our jobs and end civilization. Cell phones were going to do that. Internet was going to do that. Y2K was going to be the end. People do get afraid of things
But it's funny.
naturally
It's funny
that
that you say
they
that
don't
because the
understand.
demographic. It's funny that you say that because the demographic for people that use this tech, the major one is 35 and over. You know,
Yeah.
quite a bit of it our age, and most of the people I talk to our age. So it's funny that like that's the case. I think it's the younger people somehow that are actually rejecting the whole thing. I think that like based on principle or something
Yeah,
is
there's
my
that.
thoughts around
There's
it.
a lot of division all the way around the world. I think people gotten, I don't know, people aren't as fun or happy as they used to be, and
Yeah.
there's sociological things that went global that changed it.
I
We
think
don't
there's
have
a
to go
lot of
into, but
negative messaging out
yeah,
in social media where
yeah.
people are
And
intentionally
and two,
trying to
there's
make
people
people
that
sad.
like to pick on things for the sake of picking on it.
Mm,
Trolls, people just want to find something to be mad at. You get all that kind of thing. But I at the end of the day, I think in the future, it's not going to matter what made the song, as long as you identify with it and like it. You're not going to
yeah.
care whether it's AI or not. You
Yeah.
know.
I think the consumers probably mostly aren't going to care. It's the people that have been making the music that feel like they're being stolen from
Well,
that care.
actually, I hate to
Yeah,
bring.
because
Yeah,
that
I
was a
got
good segue. Yeah, that was very intentional because I know that's one of the reasons
Here
you're
we
here.
go.
Uh,
Hang on tight because here we go. Here it comes.
yes, here we
Yeah,
go.
I had been concerned about that too, and I still am. But
Mm.
what happens is Suno is training on everything it can get. We don't know if they legally obtained licenses for it or not.
So I thought
Apparently
you came
not.
back on that. I thought you
Yeah.
had a second. Yeah. So go ahead. Sorry, I
So
won't interrupt. I'll
anyway,
let you tell the full story.
there's lawsuits, record companies and others are suing them,
Mm.
because what they're doing is they're taking the stuff and they're taking and training on it. But what happens when there's training on it? They actually take parts of the copyright song and send it to the user's generated song. And
Mm.
I've had that happen. Kiss's Love Gun turned up in one of the generations of my own songs. Of course, I
Yeah, well,
can't
the
use it.
lawsuits definitely showed examples of songs that were
Mhm.
word for word
So
taken.
that is a problem. Technically, according to New York State, or not New York State, but federal copyright law, that's not legal.
So Trump, I think last week came out with a declaration that copyright, in
Executive order.
terms of AI, yeah, an executive order, was going to be removing that. And he said, "Look, I'm not going to say whether I'm a Trump fan or not.
No, but
I think
it's a good
mostly people
for
would know,
sake of
but
argument, though. It's good to
yeah, it's
discuss
for the
it.
sake of argument. So I tend to agree with him that when you say copying a song is always going to be illegal, copying a poem is always going to be illegal. To take an actual piece, copy it, and claim it as your own, that's always going to be illegal.
Right.
But if you scrape a percent of 1% of someone's song and millions of other songs, and that becomes your song, that's what everybody's always done anyway when they're influenced
Yeah,
by
with
things.
samples, but
But
there's been a lot of trouble with sampling too.
yeah, and there's stuff exactly, and people take this and that,
Mhm.
and there's different ways about it. So what he's saying is we're going to end that. It's too much It's too difficult to basically go, okay, there's less than 1% of a percent of your influence that's gone into that person's song, so we have to pay you a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a cent because copyright
Actually,
law. So
they're
he's
already
removing that.
doing that. They're already paying people for songs. That's how the whole digital thing works. But the problem is, it isn't that so much. I'm gonna put it out there. I'm in support
No,
of
please do. That's
AI.
why you're here.
I'm I'm in support of AI training on everything it can get because that's
Mm,
how it learns. What I'm not in support of is the pieces ending up in people's songs and they go and copyright or try to copyright that song, which they can't copyright AI generated stuff anyway, but and claiming it as theirs when it isn't. So what
mm,
AI needs, what the software like Suno and stuff, they may be already working on this. It may be just a glitch or a problem that they're working on so that this doesn't appear. They can train on the copyright material, but that won't appear in somebody else's generated song.
yeah.
It can be done, but it's glitchy right now, and it's still in AI is still in alpha stage. It's in its infancy, so
Yeah.
things are going to be happening now. I contacted Suno about this, and they emailed me back, and they told me that it's up to each person to listen to their
Yeah.
generated
And that's
songs
definitely
and
in the terms. Yeah.
determine if anything is you know uh copyright or not, but you can't do
And,
that.
and
But
this
there
and this
is
is
a
what the
site, if I
executive
may
order.
quickly, before I forget,
Yeah. Yeah.
there is a site online that you can actually run your song through and it'll tell you how much of a song of your song is similar to some other songs. You might have
Yeah.
to Google for it. I forgot what it is, but
Yeah. Well,
you
if I
can
find what
actually
that
look
is, I'll
for it.
put it. Yeah, if I find what that is, I'll put it in the thing below.
Yeah,
So
I used
let
to
me
have
let
it,
me get my impression.
if I
Let
may
me flip back
here.
because I
Yeah.
just don't want to. Yeah, go. May you may. Yeah,
I think I might have it here actually written. It's no, I don't have it. Well, anyway,
that's
that
all right.
was
We'll find it after. That's all right. We'll find it after, and let's
yeah,
confirm with you that
but
that's
you
it.
can actually put it in there and it'll tell you. And then there's other things like Shazam. You can put your song in that and Shazam will try to find it, and if it finds a song that's copyright, that then you know your song is there's ways to check your song to make sure that it's not so similar to a copyright song that you might run afoul of
Yeah,
a lawsuit. So
yeah.
it is, the
It's
onus
all
is
dependent
on
on
us.
AI though.
Yeah,
This
AI
is the thing
should be
that
able to do that so that we don't have to
that it's
do it
got to
ourselves,
train.
but
But it's
we're
got,
gonna have to.
but that's the thing too, right?
Mhm.
In order for AI to train to be able to figure
Yeah,
out
you
if
have to.
it basically has to train on copyrighted material
You know what's
to be basically
interesting?
detect it.
Anthropic, they had the judge that did the Anthropic case. He was saying fair use was okay for the stuff that they actually purchased, but there was a lot of
Mm,
stuff that they didn't purchase a license to and just stole, took without purchasing. That's where the problem was. Now, if Suno's taking and scraping off of like um Spotify or YouTube or whatever without purchasing a license to those songs, that I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm going to disclaim I'm not a lawyer. We've heard
yeah, I'm not a
lawyers
lawyer
say
either. So
things about
I'll
this.
do the disclaimer now. I'll do the disclaimer now. None of us is responsible for anything we say in this video.
No, but the lawyers have weighed in on this, and you can find it all over YouTube. And
You can find it all over YouTube. The problem is that everybody, for the most part, people are giving their views based on what they want to be true. Even a
yeah,
lot of times, the lawyers and things.
mhm,
So even some of
they're
the stuff,
human
like
too, and they got to make money.
yeah, they're human too, and there's leverage. We'll talk about a particular one, but let me just backtrack a little bit too. So you mentioned the fact that you cannot or you shouldn't be able to copyright or you can't copyright or AI music
No,
because it
actually the
basically
library, the Copyright Office did come out with a report, not a law or anything, but a report saying, and apparently when people go to copyright their songs, you have to disclose how much or what is actually AI, and
I
that
100%
part
agree on
is
that. Yes.
not
Yeah.
is not considered copyright. It's only the
Yes.
human
I
parts of your song. Yeah,
yeah.
from what
I
I
agree with that.
understand. Yeah,
And and it's all going to come down to how it ends up coming out in the end is all going to be
it's
who
gonna
actually
have
does
to
the
go through the
consulting for the laws,
courts.
which they've and the courts are basically taking all viewpoints on that too. And I guess that's why, because it's so new that this is coming out, and there's all kinds of different options for it. It's not just music, right? So right
It just
now,
bumps in the road, just like it was for streaming services back in the day in Kazaa and Napster. It'll figure itself
yeah,
out. It'll
yeah,
figure it
and how it figured itself out is different because, like in the U.S., they're going to have copyright laws, and I just attended a webinar in Australia a couple days ago that Peter Garrett, who's the lead singer of Midnight Oil, and he's been heavily involved in politics here, just going, it's theft, and no one should be able to do it, and then there were other consultants that
out.
like that lawyers and that they're trying to get a movement happening where it's all being blocked. So it could be confusing where U.S. has its copyright stuff, and then Australia is really tough on enforcing
Really?
like getting into your face about what you are and are not allowed to do. It's almost becoming like communist Russia here, the way it's
Well,
they're
I
starting
think
to
what's
enforce laws. I
happening
don't want
right
to.
now, people are asking now. Suno doesn't tag their stuff as AI, but distributors like DistroKid and stuff and Spotify, they're trying to get a tag on the AI stuff so they can tell everybody the song you're listening to is basically done by AI. And I see it as a drawback because then people would say, oh, this song is AI. I'm going to automatically put a thumbs down because I don't like AI. So it's almost like setting it up for a boycott, you know? And I think
Yeah.
that's
Well,
discriminatory. I think they shouldn't even tell you if it's AI, but people, I think this Velvet Sundown thing really brought something else to attention is misleading if it's saying making people think that it's a human when it's not, you know.
yeah. I don't think Velvet Sundown was good for us. I think we were all hoping Velvet Sundown was going to be good for us, but they've been
It can
very
still
whoever it
work.
is has
I
been
mean,
very
look at
courageous.
Kiss is
Yeah,
going to have avatars in 2027 of themselves playing in Las Vegas, digital, you know? So I
yeah.
think, and the digital bands, for people like me who can never be a rock star, I mean, look at me. But, this would be great to have it be a digital artist, you know?
Yeah.
And you could live your dreams. I think this is a great thing. It's just that, we got anything new, you're going to have bumps in the road. We all got to
Yeah.
decide on what we find socially acceptable and be fair to all the artists, to their
If something moves
music.
you, if something moves you, you listen to a song. Like I've made an album last week, like a live album, a 1973 live at a venue that doesn't really exist. And I got
Oh,
into the
cool.
characters. They made me feel awesome, right? And it's like it was like really bluesy southern rock sort of stuff. And I listened to it in my car,
Cool.
right? Like it moves me. Like if I were to say I'm not going to listen to it, then and because it's AI, then I
Yeah,
lose that
that's
experience.
if
It's a
they don't have to listen to it if they don't want to. Let them listen to something else. There's room in the music world for everybody, you know.
I
And
agree. I
everybody's
agree.
got their niche, and you just find the niche that you identify with. But don't diss anybody else. I mean, I don't like opera, but I'm not going to diss it. I just don't happen to have a
Yeah.
fondness for it. It's just like that. And
Yeah.
if you
Yeah,
don't
that's
like
right.
AI, don't listen to it. But I think what they're afraid of is they might accidentally listen to it and accidentally like it, and then find out
That's
later it
true.
was AI and go, "Oh, it wasn't made by a
Yeah.
human, so I'm supposed to hate this now, and it's a shame because I liked it." It's like,
Well,
uh,
well, there is shame in that. I'll tell you
it's
another story
crazy.
back in the day, back in the '80s when all the glam rock bands were wearing lipstick and makeup. I had a Kiss poster
Kiss.
on my door, and I had it for
That
like
was in the
yeah no
'70s
no no
too.
sorry not Kiss Poison sorry
Oh
Poison.
yeah,
I had a Poison
Poison. Yeah, I
like
remember them.
Poison on my, and Brett Michaels is well doing what he does, and he had his son anyway. So this is the fear. Like, so my dad, I had it on my after like a year. I think he maybe heard me talking about Poison, and he said, Matt, like, I don't know why they do that. Like, for an entire year, you had that poster. I thought that was a woman on your thing. And not only that,
Look at Paul
but I thought
Stanley
it
as
was a
a star
very
child. You know, he looked
well. He
maybe
was he was,
72
but my dad like thought it was a sexy chick, and I think was going, "Ooh, I'd like to get with that," right?
until
And
he
I think he
sees
was
the
like, "Oh
hairy
no."
chest, right?
Until he sees the hairy chest. So for a whole year, my dad's like, "Oh man, that chick is pretty good. Matt has a good taste in lipstick women." So that could be the fear that people have with AI music. Is it going to be listening to a song for a year and
I'm
they're going to be way
laughing
into it and they're
because
going to be like, "Oh my god, I feel so dirty. It's AI."
exactly. I'm laughing. I'm cracking up because I'm going to tell you a story, and I probably shouldn't tell you this, but
No, please
I
do.
was
This is the place to tell stories.
well, this is going to go nationwide, worldwide. And if he sees this, it's embarrassing. But I was just a
I know my
teenage
dad
girl.
doesn't watch anything I do, so that's perfect.
No, I was a teenage girl, and remember when Kiss put out the 4 solo albums, and they
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
each solo album had a poster, and they all linked together to make this big mural. And the one for Paul Stanley, they were all cartoons, right? Cartooned
Mm.
posters. And the one for Paul Stanley, I looked at it and I'm like, something is missing. Oh, yeah. I grabbed the Sharpie and I started drawing on his chest hair.
Oh man, you should have been there. You should have been a consultant at the time, there, Tika.
I hope he doesn't see. Well, he's probably going to see this, but sorry in advance. If Paul Stanley's watching this, I'm sorry. I just,
Yeah,
I
well,
was just a
Paul
teenager. What do
Stanley and
I
Gene's.
know?
Yeah, well, I think probably they would have been even more successful had they had your artistic input into that.
No, no, no. Paul Stanley's a really good artist. If you've seen his artwork, he
Yeah,
was
yeah,
fantastic. I don't know. I don't think it was him that did the posters, though. It was, they contract out, to people and stuff.
yeah. I think they're extremely savvy business people.
Oh,
They've
they
been doing
are,
it for a really, really
especially
long
Gene and
time.
Paul. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Nice.
they are.
So
But
well, let's take a break from Kiss, but we will come
yes.
back to them because I like talking about Kiss. We were talking about the legal stuff, and
Mhm.
we specifically talked in emails about our favorite music attorney and our sort of opinions on that person, which
Yes.
I don't like. I've talked about her a little bit. This is AI music attorney Miss Crystal,
Crystal
and
Delgado of Delgado Entertainment Law. Not
there you
plugging.
go.
You can edit this out if you want to.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine to plug. I think
Yeah,
she does
yeah.
plenty good to plugging herself, but she's
She's very
definitely really well known.
informative.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
our opinions our opinions sort of vary on her. Like I don't dislike her. I think the way she self promotes is a little bit dishonest sometimes in her thumbnails. That's not. I've seen people do much worse
Yeah.
though,
Yeah,
and I think
exactly.
yeah,
She's an attorney, and lawyers naturally are a little more aggressive in what they
mm,
do. And, you have to be aggressive in your marketing, especially these days, because you're competing with so many people. So I don't really
yeah.
fault her for that. It's just the way the nature of the algorithms in YouTube. It's just the way you do. Some people do more than others. I mean,
You know
you
what
are
it
more
is.
laid
You know
back
what
than
she is.
most people, but
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm
I
probably a
try.
bit more laid
I
back, and I
I
try
look
not to
at
be
it
too
this
good.
way. I see the thumbnails and stuff, but I like to watch what she hasn't. Just listen to the content and think about it, and
Mm. It's true.
I take everything with a grain of salt, even if it's from an attorney. I'm not saying she's bad or good. I'm just saying that
Yeah,
I listen to it, and then it gives me a jumping off point to go and do my own research. You look at the copyright law at
yeah.
the U.S. copyright site. Contact Suno themselves and talk to them. Read the terms of service of these places, which everybody should be doing before you sign up or anything. Read
Mm,
the terms of service and get familiar with that. It's so easy to say, you agree to click, you click here and you agree to the terms, and you just click without even reading it. Actually, you should be reading it, especially when it's stuff that
yeah.
is yours that you're going to be giving to them.
Well,
But
especially seeing right now, we all are. If you're in this space, like you're comfortable with AI, you can like what I do is I'll just glaze through the terms of pretty much anything now, which I never used to. But now it's so easy. You can actually just take all the terms, drop it into ChatGPT, and then just
Mhm.
say, first of all, what do you pick up out of here that's the
Oh,
dangers?
I
So
use
it might highlight
Microsoft
them.
Copilot a lot too.
Copilot's is an
Yeah,
example too. But
because
then you can just
it
ask
comes
it
with
questions.
Windows and it doesn't have all those, like ChatGPT, it'll cut you off after a while, especially if you're doing images or something. Where with Copilot, it comes with Windows and you can, but as with anything, ChatGPT, Copilot, if you use Merlin or whatever,
Grok.
always
Yeah.
look it over. And these things tend to overthink things and they don't always get it right. So you always got to take and summarize, get the gist of what it's spitting out and double check it. There's been attorneys that automatically plugged in what they got out of a chat GPT or whatever, and they got in trouble because their documents were inaccurate. AI can
Yeah.
hallucinate,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you
I
know,
think for the most part, though, like people, ChatGPT or Copilot or Grok or whatever you use or Google,
mhm.
they're all going to be better than the average person at basically reading through a document, picking
Oh
out like
yeah.
some catch
Oh
points.
yeah.
So I mean, even though like it's going to do better than you are, you're going to miss
Right.
99.9% of stuff,
In
or you're going
fact,
to
when you do
misinterpret
a
stuff because
Google
you don't have a
search,
legal background.
when you do Google search, the first thing comes up is an AI summary of, that's the perfect way to do the internet, the web, and then it
Mm,
gives you the links so that you can discover, read it for yourself a little, dive deeper into it. I think that's the way that search engines should be, and people are probably going to hate me for saying that, but that's basically what I've been doing with Copilot too. And ChatGPT
yeah,
is basically a search engine, and also to, bounce around ideas like for business or the music business or, ideas you have. People have been using Chat GPT and the like for coming up with lyrics or trying to find rhymes for that one word in your lyric that you can't find a rhyme for. I usually go to a rhyming dictionary website myself, but people
yeah.
been using this for the lyrics and stuff, and the thing is, you're kind of in a gray area because if you then go to try to copyright it, technically that's AI generated and not human. Even if you alter some of the lyrics, how much of it are you altering and how much is still AI? It can get a little muddy. You know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
mean, if you're looking for a rhyming word, like what's a rhyming word with carrot?
Right.
I don't think you'd have a problem copywriting your words because in that case, it's just a tool. Like you could just go to,
Right.
you're still using other tools, right?
Right, but if
You,
you use it to generate the lyrics to like the choruses plus maybe two
yeah,
verses, then you're going to get into a little gray area because a lot of it,
you you
yeah.
have to show for to copyright. My understanding is you have to
Well, here's the
show
thing with the
exactly what your
Copyright Office,
involvement
though.
is.
You could lie and say none of it's AI and it is AI, and I don't think they have any way of telling what your uploaded song, if
If
it
it's
was generated
challenged,
with
if
AI
it's
or not.
yeah, but if it's challenged years later, you have to have a record of your process and what came up with it. That's the problem. So people have said that. Like I'll just say,
How do you
and
do
that's
that if
fine.
you
And
do? If I delete, see, my workflow is when I uploaded Suno, and I get a song or a bunch of them that I like that I'm gonna work with, I delete them off of Suno once I downloaded the MP3s. So how am I
yeah,
gonna prove anything?
well that could be a challenge. I mean, that's going to be the challenge for
You
for
you
people
made a very
copywriting
good
stuff in the
point.
future
I
if you don't
didn't
have
know
the
that, and
the
I don't
stuff.
think a lot of people would realize that either. So that there's
Yeah,
another good thing to think about, and I think I'm
yeah.
gonna have to start thinking about that too.
I mean, I
Yeah,
believe that there have been cases where people have legitimately written stuff. Stuff's been stolen,
yeah.
and the people
Even
that
before
stole it have
AI,
challenged the original creator.
right? Because
The people that stole it is the original creator, and that original creator can't prove that they had a process
no,
to make
because what
whatever
they're
that they
doing is
came up
they
with.
some of them did try by mailing them U.S. mail their songs
Mm.
or emailing it to themselves, and that's not permissible in court as proof. You have to have a copyright registration from the
It
U.S.
is
Copyright Office, at
it's
least in
still
the
protected. It's
USA.
not copyright. No, but even in the USA, it's still
Yeah.
protected if you do that. It's just not copyrighted. The copyright is like an additional layer of
Right,
protection.
and the
But you,
judges
as soon as
will
you publish it in some way,
they'll look at who got the copyright certificate for that recording first. That's what the judges
yeah,
look at, and
the
that's how
you can
people lose their
rescind. You can have a
songs.
copyright. You could still lose a if you copyright stuff. You can still lose that process if that person can prove that it was protected beforehand. But the it's just how many resources do you have? How long? Because people
Right.
have lost their houses, trying to defend themselves in court over stuff that's
Yeah.
legitimately theirs. And at one point, sometimes you just have to give up and say that's fine. And Led Zeppelin
Well,
are
it's
probably a
hard
good
to
example of
do.
that.
For me, it would be impossible for me. Why I'm so protective of my music, because when I make my music, that's my soul. That's part of me, and I'm kind
Let's
of
talk about
shy
that. How
about
protective? Let's talk about that because that's one of the reasons I want to have you on here is you are very protective. Let's talk to the
that. That's
level
why I don't have
of how
nothing
much
out
you protect.
there.
That's
Yeah.
why I haven't heard any of your stuff.
No. Yeah, I've even when I was back in the 80s, I've always been a shy kid because, growing up, my parents, th- it was a strict household. And back in them days, in our community anyway, kids were just, you know, tossed around. I mean, I was told I was an embarrassment. I was bullied in school. I was told, all kinds of bad things about myself. I didn't know any different because everybody was saying all these negative things about me. I didn't know any different about myself. So,
Mm.
what happened was I didn't have the confidence to go out and really sing. I mean, I did solo singing and playing the guitar in a talent show. That was a dumpster fire. But I was in the high school choir and stuff, but I could blend in with everyone else. But I
Mm.
was always shy about that. And when I came to making my own music, my vocals were just like,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, no, I was so very, shy. I wasn't gonna go anywhere, like that. And in the music business in Rochester, New York, wasn't very friendly to begin with, especially to metalheads. And if you were disabled and you were female, you weren't going to really go anywhere.
Yeah.
So over the years,
So there was back then. I'll just quickly jump in like that. There is a very much like 80s metal rock scene that happens around northeast USA.
not
Like
here.
obviously not in New York because I know like
Well,
Bon
in New
Jovi and
York,
Skid
yeah,
Row is all
especially
right.
if it's
Yeah,
New York City, but
yeah,
Rochester,
yeah.
New York, it
Rochester.
was
Yeah, but northeast
jazz.
like yeah.
Jazz was
Okay,
big. It still
okay.
is.
Yeah,
Chuck
okay. I didn't know
Mangione,
that, and I
which
spent a lot of
sadly
time.
passed away, he was big in Rochester. In fact, his song "Feels So Good" became what was known as "quote unquote" the Rochester song because it was played over everything.
Yeah,
That would,
that's interesting because I spent a lot of time around there. Like I did a lot of
yeah.
military training, like in Fort Drum, and I've been
Oh, okay.
around, all that
Yeah,
stuff. So it's interesting, but I didn't really hang around enough to know that it was big into jazz. But go ahead. Sorry. So
yeah,
your
but
your life story. I was
yeah,
curious.
I'm sidetracked, but yeah, you're gonna have to remind me what put me back on
You
track.
were
I
talking.
forgot.
Sorry. So you were talking about like you really timid in the way that you approach music back then
Oh
because back
yeah,
then you're so
yeah.
shy. Yeah.
I was very shy about it, and I still am because I whenever I make music, it's a part of my soul. It's something I made and I put it out there. I don't want people to claim it as their own and sue me for it and take it and steal it from me. I don't want people to misuse it, mix it and make it sound horrible or put words to it that I find awful or something or whatever. And really, I know this is probably me being, I don't know. I'm just like that for some reason and
Yeah.
probably shouldn't
I would
be,
like to see. I
but
would like to see you like get past that. Like I
I'm
would
working
find it
on
a
it.
personal win to see you as part of this community,
I'm
not just
working
this
on it.
community, like the AI
I
Music
learned
Society,
so much
and
in
get
this
you.
past week about copyright and stuff, and I'm starting to map out a plan. It's just that right now in my personal life, I've got a lot of issues, financial and personal issues, that it's
Yeah,
delaying everything. Now, the funny thing with me is I can put my art out there. In fact, my artwork is on Instagram and on Facebook and on X, but my music, No, but
That
two.
I want to get you to get your music at least one song out there. I find it to be
It's
a
gonna
personal
take for
win.
me to feel comfortable doing that. It's gonna take me money to copyright, and I'm really in a bad situation financially right now. And I've
Yeah,
got my van is about to, needs repairs that I can't afford. That's my lifeline, get groceries and stuff. I'm in a real bad situation right now, but I'm
yeah,
hoping once I get past that, early next year or maybe mid next year, I might even just say, "Screw it, I'm gonna do it before then." I'm working on it. I've just got so
yeah,
much on my plate, and I'm still recovering from 2 years ago, my hospital
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I don't have a lot of energy, but I am working I do have a music channel started on YouTube,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
we'll
And
see.
you haven't published any of that music.
No,
Uh,
and two, when you
you-
think about it, when I do music, I use AI, but I play. I'm a musician, okay, and I'm a
mm,
songwriter, and I do my lyrics and stuff. And I want to, and I get into the DAW, the digital audio workstation. I use Mixcraft 10 Pro Studio now. When I make music, it's not easy. It takes time. It takes time to
mm,
get everything right and then mix down, and it does take a lot of time. So I don't have anything. I have 30 songs that yet have to be recorded, and I just haven't had the time for it. I've done some artwork, yeah, but I have a lot of research to do to um, get through my crisis that I'm going through now with my financial situation, personal situation. It's taken a lot of my time and energy, and you only have so much time in a day. You if you
yeah.
do one thing, and I have to prioritize the things that are most important, I got to do that, takes away time from doing music and art and stuff. So I
Yeah.
have to kind of balance it, but one of these days I definitely want to get my music out there. In fact, you know
Yeah.
what, if you want to hear my music, I do have it out there. You ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was I was I went by the moniker Fuzzy Dice. Yes, that was me. For those who might know, Fuzzy Dice from the Knight Rider Online forums back in the early 2000s. There was a Knight Rider Online podcast, which you can still get on iTunes. You just Google it.
Yeah.
Knight Rider Online podcast. I was the podcaster, and some of my music, electronic music, and other people's electronic music too, but that I was allowed to use. But I some of my own music was in those podcasts as the background
Wow.
music.
Okay.
So it is
Okay.
out
Well,
there.
what I might do, because I always like to show an example, I might try to find that on my own, confirm with you that that's yours, and then maybe do a link or something down below.
Since it's in there, I just might be able to slip you that. I don't know if I can play it in here. Um, but I
I'll always
do.
do a link. I'll do a link if I can get it.
Well, I don't have it linked anywhere. It's on my computer
No,
though.
you don't have to give it to me right now because no one wants to watch us playing on the computer and finding stuff. We'll find it after. You can send it to me in email, and when
Yeah,
this
well,
goes live,
remind me.
my plan is to have September to be my month of women in podcasts.
Oh,
So I
well,
want to have like
September is
at
my
least four
really
women.
hard month, by the way.
Well, that's when I'll release this.
Yeah.
So, like you don't have to do anything else from there. This will be
Yeah. Well,
released
the
in
thing with
September, and hopefully I'll
September
have
is
that link.
my van is going to need to be inspected, and I'm having a hard time coming up with the money to get it fixed so it'll pass because it's going to need expensive repairs, maybe. I don't know. And
Yeah, yeah,
I won't have, I just haven't, I've got a lot of other, like I said, we could talk about that privately, but
yeah, yeah. Of course, yeah, yeah.
it's really holding me back musically. But if I can get to the point where I can get past these hurdles in September and October, is going to be hard, but
Yeah.
if I can get, I don't know, I can't promise anything,
Yeah.
but
Well, I don't need anything else.
I'm
We're
sitting
recording
on a
this now.
really good song that I don't really need to do much to edit it and stuff from Suno, but I'm not sure if I did that on the free account or paid account. I think it might have been on the paid account. Yeah, I think it was. And what I want to do is release that one, but releasing just one song is very expensive. So what I want to do, and this might be informative for a lot of people in your audience, what I want to do is what somebody actually, I think it might have been either in your podcast or somebody else's in the live chat. And I balked at this at first because I thought this would be very expensive. And they says to copyright your lyrics first. And that is good
Okay.
advice. But it's expensive unless you go to the copyright office and submit like a PDF of 10 songs, each one on each seat, song's lyrics on each page, and submit all of those. I think is a group of
Yeah.
literary works, and copyright that group. Then you can upload it to Suno and everything, but your lyrics are protected copyright. So I might
Yeah.
still do that and find my other lyrics. I got 30 songs. Some of them
Yeah.
are pretty
Well,
like
and in regards to
raunchy,
that
as
that
in
advice you
Kiss
just gave.
raunchy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
I don't know,
yeah.
but
Lick it up. Lick it up. Now I can't
no,
monetize it.
raunchier than that. Something on like
Really?
Take It Off or
Ah.
you know.
And in regards to that advice that you got out of the thing, like definitely do your own research on that. Like I'm not aware of that, and it's just like anything, we've advised
Go
you
to
all the
the
way through.
copyright office and start reading their documents.
Mhm.
You know, that's the
And
best
that
thing.
can
And
be online and all that stuff too.
read Suno's terms and email Suno and ask them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, all that stuff. And this is the thing I kind of want to wrap up on too. Like you are the most cautious person that I've seen in this community when it comes to the point where you
I
haven't
learned
released
to be
anything.
cautious in life
And that's
because
that was the
I
point I was gonna make, like, because that's your perspective. Like you were younger, you were bullied, you were told you were crap. It's basically to
and being
to
on
to
disability, you're always
dis
being attacked.
yeah,
And people are always trying to pull the rug out from under you to get you off the system so that they can save money and not have to
yeah,
pay your way or whatever they are
yeah.
so upset at. And you're always fighting to survive.
I
So I'm
was
always
I was
cautious about
explaining
it.
to my wife, like we watch a TV show called My 600 Pound Life, and a lot of the people in that show are
Oh, yeah.
super stubborn, and especially the ones that are from like Northeast U.S. Like these people, like the brothers, or whatever, from Rhode Island, and I so recognize it. The attitudes they take, where they won't listen to anybody, like they're just they've been
Well, that's
screwed
because they
so many
probably were
times.
given wrong advice and had to suffer for it severely.
Well, I think they're just massively abused. But the point being is
Exactly.
their
That
life
too.
experience, it has led to them. They don't listen to people. They push back on everything. They have to back
You have
themselves,
to.
right or wrong. They just back themselves to
Especially
the point
around here.
they cannot be told.
Right. Well, and two, it's also culture in my family too. My great grandparents were all immigrants from communist countries, Poland, Germany,
Mm,
Lithuania, and
yeah,
they don't let people tell them anything,
yeah.
because if they
Oh,
did, it could mean their life.
yeah. No, my grandfather was
So
Polish,
that's
like
where we
first
learned it
generation
from.
Polish in the U.S. and
Hmm.
and it was the same. Like you could never tell my grandfather was never wrong about anything. But the point being that I find it interesting that we are both in the same technology. We've had similar things. I've been in technology since I was 8 years old. I used to get those magazines in the mail and then type up code on the computer as well. And I built my first computer when I was like 10. Right,
Hmm.
I got a computer as my first communion present. So like I've been in tech for a long time too. But it's funny because I'm the opposite. Like I go, you know what? Like I'm gonna work for a couple weeks on this song and I'm just gonna put it out. I don't know what copyright like there's different people's perspective on stuff. There's whether it's right or wrong, and people have to do what's comfortable for themselves and what they understand the copyrights to be and what the legalities to be. And the truth about it right now is nobody knows. Like even the courts don't know
It's true.
what's legal
And
now.
now we
So
don't even have anybody in charge of the copyright office at the moment. But
that's
um,
fine.
but getting back to the cautious thing, though, especially people who are disabled and low income and in poverty, you have to be careful of everything because one wrong move and you're out in the street. And if you're in the street,
Yeah,
that could be fatal. I mean, in
Yeah.
the music business, the way it is, especially today, you dip your toe in the water, and the music business is going to hand you your ass. It's called the music
Yeah.
business for a reason. It's not music
Hmm.
friends, as
Yeah.
Singer of Kiss's drummer would tell you. I'm quoting, paraphrasing him.
I've heard that. I've heard that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So you got to be careful because it can be quite literally fatal for people. The
I've talked about
consequences escalate to a situation where it could be fatal for you. You have to
uh,
be cautious, maybe more
I've
so than
talked
the
about
person
this.
who's, not in that
Yeah,
situation.
I've talked about this in the past on some of my not my interviews, but I've talked about it in the way that the music business has been pretty ruthless and predatory when it
It
comes to
has.
that. Like when Napster and
It
all
has.
that were out initially, and people were downloading music before like you could legally download music. They didn't go
Some of
after
those that
like
got sued ended up having to file for bankruptcy because they couldn't pay
mm.
it. It was
And these are
impossible.
12-year-old kids and grandmas and grandpas, and they were going
Yeah.
after them because they knew that they couldn't defend themselves. So that people like you being cautious, if you've lived through that before and you've seen that, where we remember the news at the time, that could
Exactly.
happen to me. Like it's so unlikely that it could happen that people that aren't risk averse be like, that's not going to happen to me, or they think that people that think that nothing's going to happen to, and it's very possible that nothing's going to happen to any of them because the music industry is
Maybe
starting to
they
lean
didn't
towards
have
wanting to
a
do this.
yeah, they didn't have as hard of a time. Maybe they're not disabled. They're doing well. They work and they don't have any other problems. But when you're in the system as a disabled person, it's really tough. I mean, they're always trying to rip the rug out from under you, and you have to be cautious of everything. You have to be
Mhm.
careful of the consequences because one wrong move and you're done,
Yeah,
you know.
and that's what I thought was really interesting about bringing you on too. Like, you sort of made me aware of your life circumstances, and your perspective, and I just think everybody's going to approach this, and they're going to see through things through the lens of their own personal, life
Yeah, well,
experiences and things.
that's
So,
fine. I mean, that's the way it is.
yeah,
It's
yeah, and one of us is going to be right, and one of us is going to be wrong. Either we're gonna,
or we'll both
and
be
you just
right,
got
or
to
we'll
make it.
both be wrong. Who knows?
There's some parts of it will be here and there, and we can both agree that it was a fun whatever process it was. But like I try to, we all try to be cautious. Like my thing is like once it's published, it's protected in a way, but also once it's out there, the industry might say at some point, you know, too bad everything that you publish is stolen from these 800 people. It could be that
And
way
that's,
too.
I think, the core of the AI lawsuits is because, especially indie artists, if it gets trained on that, and they could easily lose their rights to the song if they didn't take their due diligence to research and figure out the proper way to protect their songs. So I think that's what a lot of this, dispute is really.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned indie artists because in 2023, Ditto did, which is a distributor, did a survey and showed that 60% of indie artists actually use AI as part of their method to build the songs. Now, the survey was done again in 2025, and I just did a whole thing on this, and um, like something like 48% of indie artists are using it, but they don't reject it for some reason. The ones that were surveyed said I'd use it. I just don't know in what way I can. I'm not, or I
I
don't have
think
access to
now
the
that the
tools or something.
copyright issues are being raised by the record companies and attorneys, people are starting to back off a little bit on using the
Or they're
AI
lying
stuff.
about it. Or they're lying
Or they're
about it because they're
lying
afraid
about it. Yeah, they're
their
like,
songs are going
no,
to
it
get
wasn't me.
pulled.
I didn't do it.
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah. That's I
yeah,
suspect that, but
yeah.
the numbers are what the numbers are. I don't know why the numbers make that way. My suspicion is that when a distribution company asks you a survey, do you use AI music, and everybody's afraid that your AI music's going to be pulled, you're going to say no, I don't use it.
Exactly,
That's what I
exactly.
suspect.
And that's another thing that's going on because I think right now the climate is that the culture around it is that if they want to label it AI so that they can get people on board with boycotting it because
Mm-hmm.
they're afraid of the technology or whatever the problem is. And like
Yeah,
we were talking before, if you enjoy the song, who cares? You
yeah,
know,
yeah. Yeah.
it shouldn't matter whether it's AI. You shouldn't go, oh, it's AI. I'm supposed to hate it now.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, like
No
you could be
way.
like my dad with Brett Michaels. You know, you could be listening to a song that then maybe that's what they're afraid of, and they're gonna feel all dirty after. But look, at well, we definitely covered the
A
stuff that
lot.
I wanted to cover with you with that stuff, and we even touched on the music attorney and
Oh,
all
I
that.
wanted to
You
tell
know?
you something real quick
Yeah,
though,
please
before I
tell me. I don't
remember,
want to wrap up
before I forgot.
prematurely.
Yeah, you were talking
As
about
a guy, that can be really
refusion.
embarrassing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you were talking about
confusion.
refusion back when you were doing the interview with CyberZen. I want to
Yeah.
let you know refusion now is called producer. They go to a new site and it's invite
Okay.
only. But if you have a refusion account, you can still log in. And if you scroll down to the bottom, there's a little tiny link that says you can click to use classic refusion. But if you
Okay.
haven't got a refusion account, you have to get an invite from somebody. So
I
refusion's
definitely have
really
a
locked down.
refusing,
And
not a
it's not
paid
refusion
refusing.
anymore. It's called
Yeah.
producer.
Oh, con- like scandalous. I guess we'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I didn't know that, and now I'm the AI music guy. I have a bit more knowledge to me, but thanks for letting us know that. Look,
Mhm.
I'm going to wrap up. Tika, thanks for being on. I
Oh,
appreciate
sure.
your insight. I definitely what I like to have is different viewpoints on things, like um, and just learn. And I hope everybody else learns. Like
Well, I'm going to
again,
be
like
putting
don't
more. I hope to put more up on my YouTube channel. I once I have it up. I have the channel there. There's nothing there yet. It's called Tika Car Music. If I can plug it, but I'm hoping to put my music there too, and
yeah.
videos like this. Me talking about my experiences and stuff. So
Yeah. Well,
maybe even
when you
some
feel
of my
comfortable,
workflow tutorials, how I go about making my music, my instruments, producing. I don't know what it's going to be, but we'll see.
well, you've definitely been an active member in the community. I've seen you showing up on the lives, and I've seen you commenting. So you're definitely out there, and you're doing your best to help people in what they do. So I thank you for being on the podcast.
Oh, thank you for
When you
having me.
feel comfortable, the pleasure, pleasure. And when you feel comfortable with your music, with getting your music out there, and that it's protected in whatever way you feel comfortable, I'm sure I'll be here to help promote that. So
I'll
thanks,
let
Tika,
you know.
for coming
Hopefully
in.
soon.
Excellent. So cool. All right, we'll catch you guys next time. Just as usual, if you want to support the channel or the charity that I support down below, the links are there. Join the Discord. The links there in the description. If you want to check out Riverside, which is what I filmed this on, it's a really good tool that makes it so the clarity is there. My affiliate link's going to be down below as well. I'd appreciate if you click on that if you want to run a podcast, and I get a little bit of cash. I don't even know what it is for that, but thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one.